We really must go now, Mrs. Ellis.
No.
No. Let's not make a problem. We've been here long enough.
There really isn't any problem. I'm simply not going with you.
But you must go with me.
Oh, no, I mustn't. If there is one thing I must not do, it is go with you.
You're being very stubborn, Mrs. Ellis. If you'll just come quietly...
Don't come near me. That's better. Very much better. Now, will you please go and leave me alone?
Mrs. Ellis, there's no need for a scene.
Indeed, no need. Unless, of course, you come near me.
Mrs. Ellis...
If you come nearer even one step, I shall stab you. Oh, you're very welcome, dear.
Will we do it again next Monday?
Every Monday. Now hurry to your bath.
A nice short bath?
A nice short one. Close the door, Susan. Oh, Grace is so forgetful. Susan, do hurry and dress. Grace, dear, not a duster. Please do remember to use a cloth.
Well, I was just hitting my high spots.
And making dust. That's all a feather duster is good for.
Well, I mean to give it a good going over later, soon as we get Miss Susan off to school.
Well, we have plenty to do later. We have some laundry, we have a bit of mending, and we've the week's ordering to tend to.
From the looks of the refrigerator, we won't need any food for a week.
This afternoon, I think I'll do the china closet.
But you did it Friday last. Why, Mrs., we got barely enough to do to fill the hours.
Grace, your muffins were especially good this morning. Susan loved them.
Bless her, she's easy, please. She loves everything.
It used to be such a pleasure to look out this window.
Why, I washed them inside and out just last Saturday.
Oh, no, it's not that. It's the neighborhood. It's not what it used to be.
It is a bit run down, all right.
Run down? There'll be rooming houses next. This is the last house around being maintained with pride and care and dignity. And no matter what, I shall keep it that way for Susan.
Yes, Mrs., I'm sure you will. Oh, I'd best shake a leg and press Miss Susan's uniform.
I'll finish, Grace.
Oh, it's a pity to lose Miss Susan again for another week.
She's just off to school. We don't lose her.
I watch you these Monday mornings when you're getting her ready. It goes harder with you every time.
She loves her school.
She's all you got. They're off and grown soon enough.
I think I'll send some apple butter. Susan says all the girls enjoy it.
There was cause to send her away when Mr. Ellis was so sick. Now that he's been took.
I wish Susan could be home with me every afternoon after school and evenings. Have dinner with her every night. But I don't want to be selfish.
That's not one of your faults, Mrs.
Thank you. Perhaps I'll bring it up on my way to the corner.
Oh, it's a shame you married so late in life and just had the one before the mister was took.
Oh, it didn't seem so late in life, Grace. Susan! Susan, come on! We'll miss the school car.
I didn't tie the ribbon so good.
So well, dear.
Miss Slater wouldn't mind if I wear a hair ribbon to school, will she, Mother?
Well, I shouldn't think so, if it's tied properly.
Will you teach me how next weekend?
I would be glad to.
Better be off with you now.
Don't forget the muffins next Friday night.
They'll be hot and waiting on you, Miss Susan. Bless you now.
You know what?
What?
When I grow up, I want to look just like you.
Oh, that's a very, very nice thing to say.
Your time, Mrs.
Thank you. Grace, I shall take a walk through the park before I return.
Let's see now. There'll be the muffins next Friday night. I'll be looking forward to that.
Look in.
I'll be looking forward to that. And on Saturday, you can show me about the hair ribbon. What will we do on Sunday?
Well, what would you say to a day at the beach?
With a picnic lunch?
Oh, well, of course, a picnic lunch.
I'll plan all week on what we'll take.
Susan, dear, there's such a nice new school just a few blocks.
Oh, Mother! There's Betsy and Linda. I'm going to catch up with them.
Susan.
Hi!
Goodbye, Susan. Have a nice week. Good morning. Take your milk regularly now. Goodbye, my darling. Goodbye. Goodbye, Susan. Goodbye, darling. Bye. Lady. That was a little close for comfort.
I beg your pardon?
It's all right. Just a bad fright. I'll feel better when I get home. Notion, locking the door. What on earth? Grace? Grace? Grace! I can't open the front door. My key won't fit the lock. Grace!
What are you bawling your head off about? Well?
Where is Grace?
Who's Grace?
Who's Grace? Why, she's my... Well, if Grace is not handy, would you be good enough to open the front door for me?
All right.
Grace should tell me when she's called workmen to the house.
Just what was it you wanted, lady?
Never mind what I wanted. And the next time you answer someone's door, please have the decency to put your shirt on. Who's in there?
Mr. Bolton, I suppose.
Bolton? I don't know any Boltons.
All right, so you don't know any.
I must try to make myself understand. Grace must have let these people in the house. But why? Perhaps she had no choice. Perhaps she was forced. Oh, poor Grace. Well, I must be on my guard.
My wife's upstairs in the studio, if you have an appointment. You alone? That's funny. I could have sworn I heard someone talking.
No wonder Grace had no time to dust with all this going on. Did he say studio? What sort of game is this? Well, I shan't panic, whatever it is. They're thieves, I'm certain of that. They simply move in and take over.
Silly. It's only a tabby. Oh, Diddy. Have you got an appointment with Mrs. Bolton, honey? Well, get her to do your fancy. Take it from an old pro, honey. The men like their pictures fancy.
They're all mad people, the lot of them. I don't believe they've come here to thieve at all. Poor deluded souls. I think they truly believe they live here. Well, I must handle this with care. Extreme care. The police must know immediately.
Just a minute now.
I will never know how you managed to change everything in so short a time.
I never see anybody except by appointment.
It is really amazing.
Hey, you can't just barge in here and use my phone.
Would you give me the police? It's an emergency.
Police? Who sent you here?
Would you come immediately to 17 Elmhurst Road? I am in great danger.
You off your rocker or something. You won't find anything here. Yeah, and the police won't either. Harry! Come up here and throw this flame out!
What's the matter?
How'd you get up here?
Oh, look, you know I'm busy. What's she done? She want a special pose or something?
What did my husband say to you?
I had no conversation with your husband. He told me you were upstairs. But don't try any bluff with me. It's perfectly obvious what you've been doing.
The studio was perfectly respectable. Everybody knows that. I take camera studies of children. Plenty of people can testify to that. Well, what are you going to say when the police get here? What's your story?
She called the police?
Why do you think I yell for you?
I shall tell them I live here. That's all they need to know. Nothing further.
You didn't really call him, did you? It is a pose you want. That's what you come for.
Anything wrong, dearie?
Nothing's wrong, and get out of here!
Don't bellow at me. I can't hear myself think in the next room.
It's none of your business. I don't interfere with you.
Oh, shut up, the both of you.
I heard you with tricky clients before, but this one's a new one on me.
Now listen, you make her tell what she came here for.
Make her? She's come here to pull some kind of blackmail. I'll make her do nothing.
I think we've all become a little overwrought. And much the best thing to do would be to go downstairs and sit quietly by the fire and have a little chat. And you shall talk to me all about your work. Tell me, are you all three photographers? Shall we all go downstairs as I suggested?
No, I think I'll just go to my room. Just like you said, this is really none of my business.
Well, it's far more cheerful below.
I think I'll just keep to myself. Thanks, just the same.
Now, make yourselves as comfortable as you can. Now that is better, isn't it? Now you shall tell me about this photography.
Better let him in. We've got nothing to be afraid of. Hello, officers. I sent two of you, huh?
You had a call. Said you had trouble here.
This woman over here, Sergeant. She came in off the streets a while back. I think she got hysterical.
I am not hysterical. I'm quite all right. I am the one who called you.
Can I have your name, please, ma'am?
Mrs. Wilfred Ellis.
Your address?
This address, 17 Elmhurst Road.
Your room here?
Heavens, no. This is my house. I live here. Sergeant, this matter is terribly urgent. I don't think you quite understand.
Now, everyone will get a chance to be heard. You say you're the one who called the police?
Indeed, I am.
Well, according to this, you reported that you were in great danger.
And I am. Sergeant, I haven't been away from this house for more than 5 minutes, and I returned to find that my home had been broken into by these thieves or whatever they are. And my whole house turned upside down and everything in the most terrible disorder. And he is another one of them.
Oh, I don't know what she's told you, but she's out of her mind. I thought so when I let her in here.
What's your name?
Upshaw. William Upshaw. Me and my wife live in the back apartment.
He is lying. He does not live here. He is one of this gang of thieves. No one lives here but my housekeeper, Grace Jackson. And I imagine if you search the premises, you will find her bound and gagged somewhere. And I have no doubt that he is responsible for it.
I tell you, she's cuckoo.
Okay. Take it easy now. Are you Henry Bolton?
Yeah, this is my wife. We have these front rooms here. Because she has a room upstairs, too, a studio. She's a photographer.
Mr. and Mrs. William Upshaw. And you live in the back apartment, right?
That's right.
I don't know what the police are for. Anyone can see what's going on here. There's no need for all these senseless questions.
Sergeant.
I heard all the talk from the room, but I didn't dream that the police...
Well, you better come on in, ma'am.
Everybody's here, huh? Including that one.
Would your name be Baxter?
You're not saying you remember me now?
Should I?
Well, you might be too young at that. I was on the stage. Used to be in the profession, you might say.
Miss Billy Baxter?
That's what they called me. Say, what kind of book you got there?
Well, it's the city directory for this area.
Oh.
You know this woman?
Never saw her before this morning. She was loitering in the upstairs hall. I took her for one of Mrs. Bolton's clients. Guess she was just snooping around.
Then she doesn't live here. And none of you ever saw her before this morning, right?
She's a complete stranger to us, Sergeant. Mr. Upshaw let her into the house, or so he says. I first found her here in the hall. She seemed kind of upset. I'd swear she was talking to herself. Next thing I knew, she broke into my wife's studio, called you folks, and said she was in danger.
Anything to say?
Have I anything to say? Why do you listen to them? Why do you even bother? There isn't any mystery about who lives here. I live here.
Not according to this directory, Mrs. Ellis.
I don't know anything about your little directory.
17 Elmhurst Road. Mr. and Mrs. Henry Bolton. Mr. and Mrs. William Upshaw. And Miss Billy Baxter. You're not listed as a resident here, Mrs. Ellis.
Lieutenant, I think I must talk to you alone. I don't pretend to know what's going on here. But it's some terrible mistake. Now, I don't recognize you or the other officers, so you must be new to the district. So would you please put in a call to headquarters immediately? I'm sure that they know all about me.
Well, why would headquarters know all about you?
Because I have lived here for years. Mr. Ellis, he's gone now. He died a year ago. Wilfred Ellis, his name was. Then we have a daughter, Susan, age 7. She's away at Miss Slater's school. Now, I've told you all about Grace Jackson, our housekeeper. Oh, she's been with me for years. You see, I told Grace I was going to take a walk through the park this morning after I'd taken Susan to the corner where they picked her up for school. But you see, I had a little fright, and I came directly home. And during my absence, and I assure you I was gone a very short time, these people
now,
broke into my house,
all right,
seized all my belongings.
Mrs. Ellis.
Why do they look at me like that? Will you please put in a call to headquarters immediately?
Now, everything's going to be all right, Mrs. Ellis. We'll go into everything quietly down at the station. Now, do any of you want to press charges against Mrs. Ellis? Trespassing or disturbing the peace?
No, we don't want to be unkind. I'm sure my wife and I'd be glad to forget the whole thing.
Yeah, but, if she starts talking about us down at the station, just, well, consider the source.
Yeah. We'll give you a call if we need any of you. We have a car outside. Mrs. Ellis will drive you down to the station. You can tell your story there.
Oh, Sergeant, don't you think it would be very wise if the patrolman stayed here until we return, so that none of these people will escape?
Better come along now, Mrs. Ellis.
I'm not going.
Poor thing. Oh, she got like that.
How dare you? How dare you? Help! 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 I can't tell you how relieved I am to be here. You know, for a while I thought you were part and parcel of those strange people in my house.
Lieutenant, I have a Mrs. Ellis here.
Mrs. Wilfred Ellis of 17 Elmhurst Road.
Sit down, Mrs. Ellis.
Thank you. Those notes, are in regard to some people who have simply moved into my house and taken over. I am terribly afraid that the sergeant was completely taken in by their monstrous stories.
Oh.
Would you mind looking at me when I'm speaking to you and listening to what I have to say?
No. What is it you have to tell me?
My name is Ellis, Mrs. Wilfred Ellis. I live at 17 Elmhurst Road. I am in the telephone book. I am in the city directory. I am very well known in this district. I have lived for many years at 17 Elmhurst Road.
Hmm? Do you have any identification on you?
Oh, that's very unfortunate. I didn't bring along my handbag when I left the house this morning.
Your driver's license. I suppose that's in your handbag?
Oh, I don't drive. We gave up our car when Mr. Ellis became ill. There was no need. I have asked you if you would check my name and address in the telephone book or the city directory.
All right. Sergeant?
There's no identification on her, Lieutenant.
I told you that myself. I am very well known in this district. You can ask the postmaster. You can ask the manager of the Belmont Street Bank. I cash a check there every Saturday.
We'll confirm it all, Mrs. Ellis. You just relax a while.
Oh, if I just thought to bring my handbag. I have a calling card case in it. It fits in right next to the mirror. Oh, this whole day has just been one thing after the other.
Look here. 17 Elmhurst Road.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, thank you.
Mrs. Ellis, we've checked these books, but you're not in the telephone book or in the city directory.
Give me those books. I will show you. These are the wrong books. They are not up to date. They are false. They are not the books I have at home.
All right, Mrs. Ellis. I think a little rest would do you some good.
Sarah Dracut.
Hmm?
Oh, why didn't I think of her before? All this confusion. Oh, please call her. She's a very old friend, Mrs. Philip Dracut. She lives in those red brick apartments on Charleston Avenue, 21 Charleston Court.
All right, Mrs. Ellis. We'll check everyone you've mentioned. Now, you go along with Miss Linton and get some rest. I'll send in the doctor.
You will see to my house and those mad people that are there. I can't bear to think of them in my house. Oh, and poor Grace, with all this precious time wasted. Heaven knows what's happened to Grace. And you will call Miss Slater's school. See that Susan is all right?
Yes. Leave everything to us.
Please, will you call Mrs. Dracut and ask her to come here?
Now, Mrs. Ellis, try not to worry about things.
Sarah, that's Mrs. Dracut. She can vouch for me. Her number is Hampstead 4072. See, the lieutenant won't listen to me. He won't hear my story.
Would you wait outside, please, Miss Linton?
Certainly, Doctor.
Oh, Mrs. Ellis, I'm Dr. Henrys, and I'm most interested to hear what you have to say.
Well, I must say, Doctor, that's the first encouragement that I've had.
Well, I am sure that nobody intended to discourage you.
There is nothing whatsoever the matter with me. I admit that I've been through a terrible experience, quite enough to unnerve anyone. My house has been broken into.
Broken into?
Well, moved into would be more to the point. I wish you could see it. I wish you could have seen it before they moved in and took over. Then you might have some modicum of an idea of what I have been through.
Well, you tell me exactly how it happened.
How it happened, I will never know. But I can tell you what happened. I tell you, I had not been gone from the house for more than 5 minutes. Just to the corner and returned. The house was different. It was the same house. But it was just as if years of neglect and decay had set in. I was utterly bewildered.
Well, I should say so.
Then I tried turning my key in the lock. But it wouldn't turn. It wouldn't unlock. Well, then I called Grace to come and open it. I called her many times.
Grace?
Grace is my housekeeper. Then, the most uncouth man appeared. Without a shirt on, mind you. And he was very rude about opening the door. Of course he did, but very ungraciously.
And you did not know him?
Emphatically, I did not know him. Why I did not scream at the sight of him, I will never know. I was so surprised, I must have been in a state of shock. I only knew that I must get inside my house. My house. I've always been so proud. Kept it so well. Mostly for Susan.
Oh, yes, the lieutenant said that you mentioned a daughter in some school or other.
Miss Slater's school.
Well, now, you tell me that you wanted to get inside your home, and that this man, whom you had never seen before, finally let you in.
If I was bewildered at the outside of my house, the appearance of my entry hall struck me dumb. The mirror was cracked and faded. There was litter strewn all over the place. And that brutish Upshaw man kept staring at me as if I were the intruder.
You did not find Grace inside, I take it.
Oh, don't you see? When they moved in, they must have murdered her.
You keep saying they, Mrs. Ellis.
Well, there were 4 of them that I saw, and Mr. Upshaw told me that his wife was living there, though I never saw her. The man living downstairs was apparently married to that cheap woman upstairs who said she was a photographer. Oh, and that preacher with the cat in Susan's room.
You did see them all. You're quite sure of that?
Of course I saw them. I talked to them. Doctor, I am not a clever woman. I am not in the least bit creative. I could not possibly have invented these people.
Now, Mrs. Ellis.
Go there, will you? Take the lieutenant. See for yourself. Look at them. See what those people have done to my lovely house.
Now, Mrs. Ellis, you listen to me. You calm yourself. And you listen to me. These people, these things that have been happening in your home could not possibly have happened in 5 minutes.
I tell you, I was only gone for 5 minutes.
It is not possible.
I know that. But it's true. Entirely true. It happened, I tell you, it happened. It's as if all the things I feared had descended upon me. All the good swept away. All the ugliness settled about me. Lieutenant?
Well, Mrs. Ellis, you look rested.
I demand to know what has been done to safeguard my property while I was being drugged.
We just wanted to be sure you'd get the rest you needed so much. You sit down, please. Mrs. Ellis, there's, 17 Elmhurst Road is not a private home.
Not a private home?
It was made into apartments some years ago. You're not one of the tenants.
I live there alone, except for my little daughter, Susan, and my housekeeper, Grace Jackson.
You're not listed in the phone book? or in the city directory. There's no Ellis on the register of the Belmont Street Bank that you asked me to check.
No Ellis.
No Ellis. There's no one in the entire neighborhood by the name of Grace Jackson.
My friend Sarah Drake. You called her?
Mrs. Philip Drake of 21 Charleston Court? Yes, we checked that, too. There used to be apartments at that address. They were torn down 20 years ago.
20 years ago. And Miss Slater's school?
We checked that, too. There used to be a Miss Slater's school for girls. It's a coeducational school now, run by Mr. and Mrs. Foster. There's no pupil there by the name of Susan Ellis.
No Susan. I don't know what I've done. Why are you all against me? I've done everything I could to cooperate, to help. What is it? What is wrong?
No, I think Fair Oaks is the best sanitarium for her. They're used to this kind of case over there.
You've made the arrangements?
Yes, they're sending over a car and a matron right away.
Do you want me to go out to Fair Oaks with her?
No, I don't think that will be necessary.
Fair Oaks, Doctor.
Now, that's a rest home, Mrs. Ellis. Now, Mrs. Ellis, I want you to think very quietly, very calmly for a moment. You understand?
Yes, Doctor.
I want you to think about Grace Jackson.
Have you found her?
Just quietly, will you describe her for us?
Well, she was average size, about my age. Her hair was sort of brownish. I think her eyes are green. She was wearing a light gray uniform. Of course, she might have changed after I left, but as a rule, around the house, she wore light gray. Why? Has anything happened to her?
You see, Mrs. Ellis, you've given us a possible description of yourself.
I don't bear the slightest resemblance to Grace Jackson. And if and when you find her, she will agree with me. Are you deliberately trying to torture me? Can't you see I am most desperately anxious about everything? About
Right,
Grace,
Mrs.
about
Ellis.
my little
All
daughter,
right.
Susan.
Everything is going to be all right, Mrs. Ellis. Thank you.
Mrs. Ellis, I have the address of a young lady named Susan Ellis. I've spoken to her on the phone.
Is she all right?
Oh, yes, she's perfectly well.
Then I can see her. I can be taken directly to her.
Just as soon as the car arrives. We've arranged for you to stop off and see her.
Oh, I am grateful. If Susan is all right, I am eternally grateful. I really don't want to make trouble. I've always been a very quiet, peaceable sort of person, not easily excited, not given to quick tempers.
It's quite all right, Mrs. Ellis.
Well, the matron is here if Mrs. Ellis is ready to leave. Mrs. Henderson, this is Mrs. Ellis.
Mrs. Ellis.
Our matron knows all about you, Mrs. Ellis, where to take you and what to do. You have the address, don't you?
Yes, Doctor.
I don't suppose Susan will mind, but I wish I had a hat. I do so hate looking common and ungroomed. Why, they converted my bedroom into a photographer's studio in a matter of minutes. Minutes.
Try to calm yourself, Mrs. Ellis.
And Susan's room. I dare not think what they have done to it. That awful lady and her cat.
I must insist that you not excite yourself. Try to think of something pleasant. Something in your memory that's pleasing to recall.
Why, this very morning started out quite pleasantly. Susan breakfasted with me in my room.
Morning, Mommy.
Good morning, darling.
Muffins?
Blueberry muffins, and they're piping hot.
Your bed's still turned down.
Uh-huh.
Any special reason?
Well, rather special. Every Monday morning, if I'm not very careful, a little girl bursts into my room, jumps into my bed, and demands that her breakfast be served immediately.
Like this?
Exactly like that.
What's the little girl's name?
Her name? Miss Susan Ellis.
Is she a nice little girl?
Oh, a very nice little girl.
Do you like her?
Well, I will have to think about that.
Mommy, that isn't what you're supposed to say.
It isn't?
You're teasing me. You know very well you're supposed to say, I like her and I love her very much.
I like her, and I love her very much. But she's very late this morning.
I won't be late, Mommy. I had a nice long bath last night.
You're going to have a nice short one this morning.
Can you curtsy?
Swallow before you speak, dear.
Sorry. What I asked was, can you curtsy?
Well, maybe I could manage one. Can you curtsy?
No, I can't.
Susan curtsies beautifully.
Well, most little girls do.
Oh, not most at all. Linda, for example, has never learned to master it. Of course, I know her to be a very shy youngster, and no doubt that has a good deal to do with it.
Linda?
Susan's little friend. She had to practice all weekend in front of the mirror.
Oh, we ought to be there before much longer. This won't take long.
Susan is here? Well, I can't think why Miss Slater would bring her here.
Well, this is where we were told to stop. Yes? Mrs. Drew?
Oh, you must be the ones they called about. You want to come in? I'm afraid the place is in a terrible mess. I don't have any help. You know how it is.
Mrs. Ellis, is this your daughter?
Oh, certainly not. My daughter is just a little girl, a very little girl.
Well, that's Judy's. I can't get her to pick her things up.
Judy's?
That's my little girl.
Oh, then your little girl is here, too. Oh, I do hope Susan has not been a bother.
Oh, you care to sit down, either of you? I can clear up some of this mess. I'm a dressmaker, you know, and I don't know. Things get ahead of me.
I understand you have my daughter here. That's really why I've come.
Judy, I told you to pick your things up, and I told you to stay outside.
Oh, what a pretty little girl.
Oh, she's very shy. She usually doesn't take to strangers.
Well, I was once very shy myself. I understand. We were just talking about my little girl, Susan Ellis, from Miss Slater's school.
Oh, I see now. That guy at the police station got it all wrong. You see, my name was Susan Ellis before I got married, and I used to go to a Miss Slater school when I was, real little. That's where the mistake came in.
What a remarkable coincidence. My name is Ellis, and my little girl from Miss Slater's school is named Susan.
My butcher's name is Ellis. It's a common enough name. You know Slaty?
Slaty?
Miss Slater who ran the school.
Oh, yes, I know her very well.
I like her. She did her best for me.
kept me a lot of holidays and all. That was after my mother was killed in a street accident.
Oh, how good of her. How dreadful for you.
Oh, I don't remember much about it. But I do remember my mother was a very kind person and very sweet and so very pretty. You know what? You remind me of her very much.
Thank you.
It's time to go now, Mrs. Ellis.
I don't want to go.
Now, Mrs. Ellis.
You have no right to make me go.
Judy, there's a cookie for you in the kitchen. Let's go quick. Up. Come on, darling. Now we really must go, Mrs. Ellis.
No.
No. Let's not make a problem. We've been here long enough.
There really isn't any problem. I'm simply not going with you.
But you must go with me.
Oh, no, I mustn't. If there is one thing I must not do, it is go with you.
You're being very stubborn, Mrs. Ellis. If you'll just come quietly...
Don't come near me. That's better, very much better. Now, will you please go and leave me alone?
There's no need for a scene.
Indeed, no need. Unless, of course, you come near me.
Mrs. Ellis...
If you come nearer even one step, I shall stab you.
Very well, Mrs. Ellis. You just stay quietly here. Standing right there by the sewing machine.
You didn't think she'd still be here, did you?
Did you see the lady? The one who was talking to you? Where's your mother?
She's outside in the backyard hanging up clothes.
She went out the back, then the mother will have seen her. I'll go and look.
I'll check upstairs. Not upstairs. I looked everywhere.
Not out back either, but I saw a side entrance. She must have gone out that way.
If she left the house, we better take the car.
Can't have gotten far.
Thank you, Judy. You're a wonderful little girl. I like you very much. You make me think of my Susan. She's a smart little girl, too. I'm going now, Judy. I beg your pardon. Could you direct me to Elmhurst Road?
It's a long ways, lady. Oh, long, long ways.
I'm sure of that. But how far? In what direction?
That way. 20 blocks at least. Might be more. You're new around here.
My home is on Elmhurst Road.
You're a long ways from home.
Goodbye, darling!
Look out, lady!